Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into something huge in the fight against ALS. For years and years, the biggest roadblock to finding a cure wasn't actually in the lab, it was the clinical trial process itself. So we're going to look at how scientists are totally reinventing the whole system.
And that really gets to the heart of the problem, right? ALS is this race against the clock. It moves so fast. But the research, it's been a marathon. It's been painfully slow. So why is that? And more importantly, what are some brilliant people doing right now to flip that script?
Okay, so to really get why these new ideas are such a big deal, we've got to first look back at what the big problems were. What exactly kept ALS research stuck in the slow lane for so long?
Is really like a perfect storm of challenges. First, there just aren't that many patients, which makes trials hard to run. On top of that, the disease moves incredibly fast. Then you've got the fact that it's actually really complex to even measure if a drug is working. And, of course, the big one, money. A single trial can cost an astronomical amount. You put all that together, yeah, you can see why it's been such an uphill battle.
So faced with all of these huge obstacles, the research community had this big realization. They figured, you know what? We can't just keep trying to work harder within this broken system. We have to work smarter. They needed to tear down the old way of doing things and just reinvent the entire process from the ground up.
And that's what led to this idea of a clinical trial research accelerator. Now, the brilliant thing here isn't about finding one single magic bullet drug. No, it's about building a better system for all the drugs. Think of it like this. Instead of building a new dirt road for every single car, they decided to build a permanent, high-speed superhighway that any potential new drug can use. It's all about streamlining that final, supercritical stage of testing.
So where do you start? Well, the first big breakthrough came from a pretty simple but really powerful idea. No one can do this alone. No single hospital, no single lab. The only way forward was to work together.
And that's where an organization called NEALS comes into the picture. That stands for the Northeast ALS Consortium. And their idea was, well, it was simple but totally profound. They asked, what if we could get all the top ALS clinics around the world to stop acting like separate islands and start acting like one single powerful research engine?
And that's exactly what they did. NEALS built this amazing global network of more than 150 clinics that are always ready to go for a trial. And the key was they standardized everything. From how investigators get trained to the specific ways patient data is collected. Why? So that every single piece of research is top-notch quality and, crucially, can be compared with research from any other site. It created this incredibly powerful shared foundation for making new discoveries.
Okay, so building this network, that was a massive leap forward. But the next idea, this one was even more radical. It came from the Healey Center for ALS at Mass General. And they didn't just want to connect the trials, they wanted to completely redesign the very idea of what a clinical trial is.
And this is it, the Healey ALS platform trial. It's the very first of its kind for ALS, and believe me, it is an absolute game changer. The best way to think about it is like a permanent, ongoing trial that just never stops. So instead of having to build a whole new study from scratch every single time you have a new drug to test, they built one master platform that can test lots of drugs all at the same time.
This chart really shows you why this is so smart. See, traditional trials are like building a brand new movie theater for every single movie that comes out. It's crazy inefficient. But the Healey platform, that's like building one giant multiplex cinema. It's got one permanent structure, it can show a bunch of different movies or therapies at the same time. And this is the really important part, it uses one shared placebo group for all of them. And that makes a massive difference for the patients who participate.
And that is the part that changes everything. Now, when a promising new drug comes out of a lab, it doesn't have to sit on a shelf for years waiting for someone to design and fund a whole new trial. Nope, they can just add it as a new arm to the platform that's already running. It just slots right in. And that accelerates the whole process like you wouldn't believe.
So, okay, the idea sounds brilliant, right? But what does this actually mean in the real world? What's the actual impact? Well, it's pretty staggering.
First up, speed. With this platform model, researchers can figure out if a drug works or not in about half the time it used to take. And for a disease like ALS, where time is everything, cutting that wait in half is it's monumental. Next up, efficiency. Because they're sharing all that infrastructure, the staff, the sites, the placebo group, it cuts the cost of testing each new drug by almost a third. And what does that mean? It means the same pot of funding can now test more potential treatments. You get more shots on goal.
And finally, and this might be the most important part of all, is the impact on patients. Remember that shared placebo group? Because of that, a way higher percentage of people in the trial actually get one of the experimental drugs instead of a placebo. And that has made a huge difference. So many more people are willing to sign up, which speeds up recruitment, and that in turn speeds up the entire trial.
So when you boil it all down, the takeaway is pretty simple. By fixing the process, we are massively accelerating the search for a cure. These aren't just small tweaks to the logistics. No way. These are powerful engines of hope, and they're turning this long, grueling marathon into a series of much faster sprints.
And that leaves us with one last, really powerful thought. This whole blueprint, this new way of doing faster, smarter, more patient-friendly research, it's not just for ALS. I mean, think about it. This is a model that could potentially speed up the fight against cancer, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, so many other diseases. The revolution that started with ALS, it might just be getting started.